Cain and Abel, possible weapons, possible wounds, a modern forensic interpretation. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the earliest recorded homicide cases in human history, the killing of Abel by his brother Cain. But instead of retelling the story, we're going to analyze it through the lens of modern forensic science. Sa episode na ito, hindi lang natin uulitin ang kwento. Gagamitin natin ang forensic science, criminology, at injury interpretation para unawain kung ano ang posibleng nangyari kay Abel, ano ang posibleng ginamit na sandata, anong uri ng sugat ang maaaring natamo niya, at ano ang kahulugan nito sa modernong forensic investigations. Context of the crime. The book of Genesis gives us a very short description. Cain attacked Abel in the field and killed him. No weapon is mentioned, no wound description, no witnesses. Maikli lang ang teksto. Walang detalyeng medico-legal, walang autopsy, walang forensic photography, walang chain of custody. Kaya ang gagawin natin ngayon ay reconstruction, using what we know about early human tools and modern forensic wound interpretation. Possible weapons. Agricultural implements. Cain was a farmer. The most logical assumption is that he used tools available in early agriculture. Possible weapons include a wooden staff or club, a stone hand tool, a primitive hoe or digging tool, a sharpened stone, early knife-like tool. Bilang magsasaka, ang pinaka-accessible na sandata ay mga gamit sa bukid. Hindi pa metal age noon, kaya bato, kahoy, at buto ang karaniwang materyales. Forensic interpretation of these weapons. Wooden club/staff. A wooden club would produce blunt force trauma. Possible injuries: skull fractures, linea depressed, brain injury, rib fractures, contusions, and abrasions. Kung kahoy na pamalo, blunt force trauma ang primary injury. Makikita sa autopsy ang hematoma, fractures, at patterned injuries kung may texture ang kahoy. Stone tool, hand axe/hammer stone. A stone tool can cause both blunt and sharp characteristics depending on the edge. Possible injuries: lacerations with abraded margins, depressed skull fractures, chop-like wounds. Ang bato ay maaaring magdulot ng chop wounds. Hindi kasing linis ng modern blade, pero may kombinasyon ng blunt at sharp features. Primitive hoe/digging tool. This tool could produce chop wounds, similar to axe injuries today. Possible injuries: deep, gaping wounds, bone cuts with tool mark patterns, massive hemorrhage. Kung asarol o panghukay, may directionality ang sugat. Sa modern forensics, makikita ang kerf marks o tool impressions sa buto. Sharpened stone, early knife. A sharpened stone could cause stab or incised wounds. Possible injuries: penetrating wounds, clean but irregular edges. Possible damage to major vessels. Kung patalim na bato, posibleng may stab wounds. Hindi kasing linis ng modern knife, pero may irregular margins at tissue bridging. Possible wounds: a blunt force trauma. English: if Cain used a club or stone, Abel may have suffered head trauma, leading to rapid unconsciousness, multiple impact sites, defensive wounds on forearms. Tagalog: makikita sa modern autopsy ang defensive wounds kung nagprotekta si Abel. Pero kung surprise attack, maaaring wala. B. Chop-type injuries. Chop wounds combine sharp and blunt features. Indicators: bone fractures with sharp edges, tool mark striations, direction of force. Sa forensic anthropology, makikita ang striations sa buto na tumutugma sa uri ng sandata. C. Sharp force trauma. If a sharpened stone was used, stab wounds may show depth and angle. Incised wounds may indicate hesitation or multiple attempts. Sa modern forensic context, tinitingnan ang wound track, angle of entry, at vessel involvement. D. Combination injuries. It's possible Cain used more than one tool or used a tool with mixed characteristics. Sa totoong buhay, maraming homicide cases ang may mixed trauma, blunt, sharp and chopped features all in one, crime scene reconstruction. Genesis says the killing happened in the field. Modern forensic implications. Outdoor scenes degrade evidence quickly. Bloodstains may be absorbed by soil. No walls equals no spatter patterns preserved. Insects and animals may disturb the body. Sa bukid, mabilis mawala ang ebidensya. Walang CCTV, walang witnesses, walang forensic responders. Kaya ang reconstruction ay largely behavioral at injury-based. Forensic implications today A. Weapon identification. Modern forensics uses tool mark analysis, wound morphology, DNA transfer trace evidence. Kung nga ngayon nangyari ang kaso, malalaman natin kung anong sandata ang ginamit sa pamamagitan ng pattern analysis at microscopic examination. B. Offender profiling. Cain's behavior fits modern concepts of jealousy-driven homicide, situational anger, possible premeditation. Sa criminology, ito ay affective homicide, emotional, impulsive pero may access sa weapon. C. Legal and ethical implications. God's response, confronting Cain, questioning him and imposing consequences, mirrors modern justice principles, investigation, accountability, sentencing, rehabilitation. Ang mark of Cain ay maaaring tingnan bilang protective custody o community safety measure, hindi purely punishment. Conclusion. English, the Cain and Abel story may be ancient, but the forensic questions it raises are timeless. By examining possible weapons and wounds through modern science, we see how even the earliest narratives contain clues about human behavior, violence, and justice. Kahit sinaunang kwento ito, ang mga tanong tungkol sa ebidensya, sugat, motibo, at katarungan ay relevant pa rin ngayon. At dito natin nakikita kung paano nag-e-evolve ang forensic science mula sa unang homicide case hanggang sa mga kaso ngayon. English, if you want more forensic Bible analysis, trauma-informed breakdowns, or criminology content, subscribe and stay tuned. Below is a clear, structured, forensic legal analysis of how a hypothetical trial of Cain 20 years after Abel's death might unfold. This is written in a balanced, jurisprudence-integrated, trauma-informed style, perfect for your forensic/criminology content. If Cain had a lawyer, 20 years later, defense versus prosecution, a modern forensic legal reconstruction. Even though the biblical narrative is sparse, we can apply modern criminal procedure, forensic logic, and legal strategy to imagine how a delayed homicide trial might look. Defense strategy, Cain's lawyer 20 years after the crime. Cain's lawyer would face a massive challenge. No physical evidence, no autopsy, no weapon, no witnesses, no preserved crime scene, no chain of custody, no forensic documentation. So the defense would rely on reasonable doubt, lack of evidence, and alternative explanations. 1. No corpus delicti. Argument defense angle: there is no body, no autopsy, no documented injuries. Without a scientifically examined body, the prosecution cannot prove cause of death, manner of death, identity of the killer, modern equivalent. Cases where a body is missing or unexamined are extremely hard to prosecute. 2. No weapon, no tool marks, no forensic link. Defense: because the alleged weapon was never recovered, the prosecution cannot match tool marks, match blood patterns, establish intent through weapon choice. Argument: any injury Abel suffered could have been accidental, animal-inflicted, or caused by an unknown third party. 3. A passage of time equals unreliable memory. Defense: 20 years later, any testimony is hearsay, memory contaminated, influenced by community bias. Legal principle: delayed reporting weakens reliability unless supported by physical evidence. 4. No motive proven beyond reasonable doubt. Defense: jealousy is a motive theory, not proof. The defense can argue sibling rivalry is normal, no documented threats, no pattern of violence. 5. Alternative suspect theory. Defense introduced the possibility of a wild animal attack, a third party, an accident in the field. Even if unlikely, the defense only needs one plausible alternative to create reasonable doubt. 6. Coerced confession. Argument. In the biblical text, Cain speaks to God. In modern law, the defense would argue statements made under divine confrontation are not admissible. No Miranda rights, no legal counsel present, no recorded confession. 7. Statute of limitations, if applicable. In many jurisdictions, murder has no statute of limitations, but the defense may still attempt to argue procedural unfairness due to extreme delay. 2. How the prosecutor can still win. Despite the lack of physical evidence, the prosecution can build a circumstantial but powerful case. How the prosecutor can still win. Despite the lack of physical evidence, the prosecution can build a circumstantial but powerful case. 1. Motive plus opportunity plus behavior equals strong circumstantial case. Prosecution: Cain had a clear motive, jealousy, anger. He was alone with Abel. He fled or acted evasively afterward. He made incriminating statements. Modern courts accept circumstantial evidence if it forms a coherent narrative. 2. Last seen alive doctrine. If Cain was the last person seen with Abel, the prosecution can argue he had exclusive opportunity. No one else was present. The death occurred immediately after their interaction. This doctrine has convicted many defendants, even without physical evidence. 3. Behavioral evidence after the crime prosecution can highlight Cain's evasive answer, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Ito ay tanong ng God, being the first forensic investigator, Kay Cain, and an open-ended type question in modern forensic investigations. Lack of death reporting system. Failure to assist or seek help. Attempt to hide or minimize involvement. In modern criminology, post-crime behavior is powerful evidence of guilt. 4. Incriminating statements. Even if not a formal confession, Cain's dialogue with God can be reframed as admission of presence, admission of responsibility, consciousness of guilt. The prosecution can argue these statements were voluntary and spontaneous, not coerced. 5. Forensic logic. Even without evidence, prosecution can use negative evidence. No signs of animal predation, no evidence of accident, no other suspects, no reason for Abel to die suddenly, except homicide. This is similar to cases where the body is found, but decomposed. Forensic logic fills the gaps. 6. Pattern of human behavior. Prosecutors can cite criminological principles, mabikhaik. Jealousy-driven homicides are common. Nagsiselos kasi dahil kinakalinga siya ng Diyos. Sibling violence is well documented. Sudden rage killings often involve blunt force trauma. This strengthens the narrative. 7. Moral and community testimony. In ancient settings, community testimony about Cain's character, his jealousy, his anger, his relationship with Abel can be used to establish propensity depending on jurisdiction. 3. Who wins? In a modern court, this case becomes a battle between defense, no evidence, no weapon, no body, no chain of custody. Prosecution, strong circumstantial evidence plus motive, plus opportunity, plus incriminating behavior. Likely outcome. A conviction is still possible, especially in jurisdictions where circumstantial evidence is enough if it excludes all reasonable alternatives. But the defense has a real chance if they successfully argue unreliable statements, lack of physical evidence, alternative explanations, investigative impossibility due to time lapse. What do you think? How can you, as a forensic investigator, forensic science student, criminology student, establish and prosecute Cain? Dahil dadalawa lang sila sa bukid o pastolan, sino pa ba ang unang magiging suspect? Can you interview Adam and Eve as well to have a psychological autopsy of their family and sibling relationships? Iyan mga kapatid ang beauty ng criminology and forensic science. Pero bago tayo matapos, merong autonomous school sa Batangas, Lyceum of the Philippines, Batangas, offering criminology and forensic science degrees, as well as masteral and doctoral degrees. Meron ding 5-year double degree program ng criminology and forensic science. Kaya mag-enroll na kayo nang ma-improve ang justice system ng Calabarzon at Pilipinas. More video essay episodes coming. #Forensic Medicine for Pinoys. YouTube #Forensic Medicine Pathology. Facebook #Usapang Forensic Medicine YouTube. #Forensic Medicine and Pathology. Rumble #Forensic Science. Philippines. Facebook #BFSC2. A Forensic Medicine 2026. Messenger.